Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with Season 2, Episode 3 of Last Man. And it's been 2.5 weeks since we last got to this. Um, like I've said before and everything, with this series, it's kind of just an occasional thing. Um, Most of our series we do pretty regularly, like pretty much once a week at least. But with some shows, we're definitely doing it at a lesser pace, if for no other reason than because they're either longer or they are more intense to get through. And with our non-scheduled format to where we just get to episodes basically whenever, it actually works out. Um, it actually allows for this to work so much easier. Obviously, if we had a schedule, we couldn't do it this way unless we actually scheduled those shows like Last Man for every other week or every 2 weeks or something. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Um, yeah, but this works well. This works fine. And even as we added in a new show with MLP because I didn't want to wait, it still's worked out fine because these are still very occasionally, mainly this in One Piece at the moment. So it's like we're not actually reacting to 7 shows at the moment on the regular. Only 5 regularly. Um, but yeah, so last time we had Insanity. Uh, didn't really show Richard much at all. We instead focused on the turd from season 1, who has kind of fallen off. He's not been doing well. He's definitely become very dependent and addicted to drugs. And now he's being hired to, well, hired to try and help catch Richard. But he and his escorts end up going to the valley. It's not entirely clear how. Like they hit some kind of portal or something like when driving, and they just end up there. They end up meeting some natives, which is pretty interesting, who have like this mineral that is being used to make the drugs. They have them like attached to their body, and so it starts kind of like these fights between the turd and his bodyguards and the natives. And yeah, it ends about where you would think, with the natives destroying them and pretty much killing all of them except the turd, who becomes enlightened, let's put it that way, and ends up turning into a monster. So that's fun. He ends up turning into a monster and basically taking over as the leader of the natives. And yeah, lots of insanity, lots of nudity last episode too, and good people dying. I actually really like the bodyguards, the brothers, and they definitely didn't deserve to die, especially in the way that they did. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting because this is episode 3 of 6. We're halfway through after this, and I don't know. Like, I doubt this is going to have a conclusive ending. I feel like or not manga. I feel like the comic goes further than where this is going to end. I don't know if Richard is going to find his daughter by the end of this season or not, or if that's still a bit away. I don't know if there's a season 3 greenlit already. It took many years just to get to season 2, though, so If it is, hopefully it comes out sooner, but there's no real guarantee for that, so I don't know. We'll maybe see. But for now, I'm just interested to see what happens next. What they do going forward, and what episode 3 focuses on. Because episode 1 definitely focused on Richard and him kind of getting his groove back after being depressed for 10 years. Episode 2 focused on the turd and introducing a little more of the valley. And so what's episode 3 going to be? I assume we're probably going to go back to Richard. He's still trying to figure out, like, a way into the valley to rescue his daughter, because he started to realize that the drugs, like, give people a connection to the other side. So he's definitely trying to figure out how to harness that, probably without using the drugs himself. So yeah. We're gonna get this started, hope for the best, see what this episode has in store for us. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades black then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I hope I've made it very clear that the reason we do this so sparingly for this series is because of its length, and I guess you could say the more intense aspect of it. Like Vox Machina is also pretty, like, gory and graphic and whatnot. But this one, maybe it's because Vox Machina is fantasy based. This one feels more real. Like, yeah, there's a lot of fantasy and supernatural elements in this series too, but just with the art style and everything, and the most of it being like a lot of real life kind of shit, like political scandals and everything in this episode. It feels a lot more real. I get to this sparingly and do these, like, with weeks between and stuff because of that. It's definitely not because of disliking it or, like, being bored with it or burnt out on the show, because I am excited to get to more of this, and every time I do get to an episode, it's just it just impresses me, if nothing else. It impresses the shit out of me, and it just gets me excited for more and more. Because this episode was definitely the best of the season so far, and was just honestly really fucking good. As I was talking about in the reaction, I love how they were connecting everything, and how each episode so far has done this by focusing on a different character. And you could say that this one, Tomie did have to share the spotlight with the cop, and then with the political candidates and Milo and all, but she was definitely still the star of this episode. The rest of the stuff was just giving context behind everything else. It was definitely still her episode, just like episode 1 was for Richard and episode 2 was for Harry. But yeah, this, by connecting everything to what we had seen before, it allows it to feel more full and complete. And I've seen movies and stuff do this kind of thing before as well. It's not like it's a new concept, but it's so well executed here. It's like you feel like the Leonardo DiCaprio pointing meme when watching something like this. It's like, oh, that's how that comes in, and it's like everything starts to make sense. It starts to click together. But then you also find out a lot of new stuff because you're seeing this from a completely different perspective. Also, I don't think I've talked about it since season two began, but I'm very sure I talked about it in season one. Tomie is fucking hot, like really fucking hot. Um, and it's been a while since I reacted to season one, so it's like, it's not that I forgot, and I definitely obviously recognize that since starting this season. It's not necessarily that I forgot, it's just more along the lines of, it's not what I first thought of, it's not what my mind was going towards when I came back to this series. It's like, yeah, I knew Tomie was hot when I was coming back to this, and then when she first showed up in episode one and everything, it's like, yeah, she's hot. It's like, that's not a surprise. But it's like, this episode really accentuated that. And yeah, a part of that is because she was using her sex appeal to help her goals of trying to take down Milo. And like I said in the reaction, people deserve bodily autonomy. They deserve to have a say and a right to do whatever the fuck they want with their bodies. And if that means using it to further your goals and everything by having sex with someone or flaunting your natural assets, there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're, you know, not like using it for the express purpose of killing people or anything like that, or, you know, really terrible shit. But in this case, she's definitely the good guy, clearly. Milo is basically a horrific mob boss, who is very, very terrible behind the scenes and is trying to be like this savior of the city in the public eye. But yeah, it made a point, even though it like didn't show her like fully naked or anything. It made a point of making sure to show that she is sexy, that she is going to use that as well, and is comfortable enough to use that. I'm still not 100% though if she genuinely was genuinely having a relationship with the new mayor, who isn't the new mayor anymore. I don't know if she was actually having a relationship with him or if it was just, you know, a way to get him on their side and all. Because, my God, she was 100% fucking him. And again, it's her body. She could do what she wants with it. But I'm just kind of curious, like, how real that was. Also, I don't think we knew at all that the cop, the guy with the glasses, I don't think we knew at all that he was a good guy. I don't think there was anything to tell us that. I think we thought just he was just one of Milo's bodyguards, basically. I don't even think we knew he was a cop. I might be wrong on that. Maybe I missed something, um, but yeah, I don't think there was anything to actually show us that he was actually a good guy. I think that was like kind of the one of the big twists in this episode. Um, so a lot of her hatred for Milo, obviously she's hated Milo for a long time, but a lot of her hatred for Milo is definitely coming from the fact that he basically owns her entire life. And it's very much stated that the contract he has over her is entirely illegal. That it's not in any way valid, but at the same time, he holds so much sway and so much power that there's really not anything to do about it. And that's one of the reasons why she wants to take him down and tries to discredit him through this plan in the episode. Because if they do that, it would allow others to go against him and would allow her to, you know, break this contract, which she wants for a number of reasons. Not only obviously wanting freedom from him owning her, but also we see that that comes into account with her music. She's being forced to do this sexy, enticing pop music that she hates. She has she has a better idea of what she wants to do and what she thinks her voice is best lent toward in terms of her music. But Milo literally only wants the garbage sex appeal stuff that I say garbage because that's how she views it, but if an artist wants to make that kind of music, there's nothing wrong with that either. But she doesn't. And she shouldn't be forced to, but Milo is that kind of person. So that's obviously one of the reasons. Another reason is the divorce papers. Because apparently they need his permission to get divorced because he owns her. And that's really fucked up. Like, that's a whole new level of fucked up. They can't, her and Richard can't even get their divorce finalized without Milo say so. And as she noted, he's not going to let that happen. So it's like, that's also upsetting her. Just, she's really got it out for him. And it's also very clear through this episode as well that while her hatred for Milo is a lot bigger than even honestly we just initially thought, because there's a lot more facets to it than we knew. We also see in this episode that she actually does genuinely still love Richard. She is fully confident in her choice to divorce him. She fully agrees with that. But at the same time, she does still have a care for him in her heart. She very much does. And I think that's pretty fair. I think that's realistic. Like, she doesn't want to divorce him because she doesn't love him. She's doing it because of his downfall, his depression, and the fact that he wasn't doing anything to help himself or change. It was smothering her. She felt like he had lost himself, and she didn't want to be a part of that. And that's fair. I can't blame her for that. And honestly, it's correct as well. And especially with what is said to him having been obsessing over everything, trying to get his daughter back. Like, in the first years of this happening and everything. And now him doing that again. And it's like, yeah, it's a lot for her to handle, and she just doesn't want to handle that anymore. And that's completely fair. As much as I really love them together in season 1, it's like things like this happen. And whether or not they ever get back together, it doesn't really matter. As long as they both, do well going forward. And find happiness in other ways. For Tomie, it's probably killing Milo. Obviously, for Richard, it's getting his daughter back. So we're halfway through the season, and I'm starting to think that it's not going to happen. In fact, I'm not even sure if he's going to find her in this season. Because it seems like each episode is focusing on a different character. And if that continues through the end, I don't know if there's going to be anything more we can do here. In regards to... Excuse me. In regards to getting that far in. I just genuinely don't know if it's going to continue down that route. But we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I I like seeing Tomie and the cop working together and trying to figure things out, doing their little secret spy stuff, basically. Like at the club, or not, was it a club? Or was it more of like a ceremony or something? Either way, when she's performing, she gets the guy to go up on stage and sing with her and everything. And the cop's trying to like copy from the laptop, but the dude comes back, and so she has to follow him sneaking around in the office, and Richard helps out. It's like, that was probably one of my favorite scenes in the episode, if not my favorite. Because, one, it connected all the way back to episode 1, giving us context for why Tomie was doing that. It showed that Richard actually helped her, which I don't think it showed in episode 1. And it was just actually a really tense scene. Like, I've obviously seen those scenes in various movies and shows before, where someone's trying to get information off a laptop and having to do it sneakily and quickly and not get attention on them. It's like, it's not a new concept, but it was actually handled really well here. And having Tomie have the guy sing with her and all was a great distraction, but also seeing that when Milo signals to him to stop and go back and follow him and everything, it's like, yeah, it just all makes sense. It connects. It's logical. Also, like, I already talked about how Tomie is like really sexy and all, but God, she looked good in that dress during that scene. She had a lot of good fits in this episode. Like the fit where she's in disguise and following the cop around before they start working together and everything. It's like, come on, that's kind of silly, but I love it. Like, we get it. She's very sexy and looks good in practically anything. But you really didn't need to go that hard on those fits. Like, they really put forth effort into her looks in this episode. Yeah, it's just, this one was definitely less crazy than episode 2, or even episode 1, honestly. This focused pretty much entirely on the human aspect without the supernatural stuff really brought in, but was more about connecting the stories as well as showing a different point of view to allow it to feel more full and more excuse me, and more just overall connected. And maybe part of my enjoyment of this episode was just Tomie, because Tomie, honestly, we could use more of her in this series. And again, not just because she's sexy. I mean, she had a bigger role in season 1. And we're only 3 episodes in, and this season is definitely being handled differently. But you know what I mean. I kind of wish she was like a secondary main character alongside Richard, and just had, more to do, like, constantly. But yeah, I just really enjoyed this. I thought this was a really great episode, and definitely my favorite so far of the season. We're halfway through, though, and yeah, just with how this season has been going and everything, we probably won't get to the next episode for, like, a couple weeks. But who knows? Who knows? We might get to it sooner. It just depends on if and when I want to. Pretty much as always. But tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode of Lastman Season 2? And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.